Welcome to Bewitching Bitches.
Get dog wise.
Welcome to Bewitching Bitches Get Dog Wise. Today we're talking about breeds and their natural instincts and whether it's a welfare issue not to allow them to practice them. So this is something that Erin and I have spoken quite a lot about recently, but actually the first time that it came up, again, something I didn't know. Aha, Erin taught me. Erin came to my house and Poppy, who is my dog, who's a Yorkshire Terrier, goes absolutely mental, barking like crazy whenever anybody arrives. So I say to Erin, also a dog walker, when I pick up this dog and that dog, they just bring a toy in their mouth and it soothes them and it calms them. How do I teach Poppy to soothe herself with the toy in her mouth and be quiet, like a dummy? How do I do that?
And I quickly said, you don't. She's a terrier. She wants to rip stuff up. She wants to chase stuff. She wants to chase stuff. She's not a retriever. You can teach dogs to do behaviours that aren't necessarily natural to them. But my question is that...
Why? Why would you do that?
Why? Why would you do that? Why would you not look at what they are innately bred for over
what they enjoy, what they want to do? We want our dogs to be happy, don't we?
Yeah, it's such a tricky topic. It's such a hard thing because so many people buy dogs for reasons that aren't what the dogs are initially bred for. And we've done this. Humans have created these breeds. We have selectively chosen them over decades to get these characteristics in them, both physical but also mental. What do they need to be the dogs that they're bred to be? And so when you ask me those questions, I do say, why don't you just give us something to rip up instead of something to carry instead? And it's also looking at what we do with these dogs and why do people choose them?
Well, I think that's the thing. I think quite often, not always, I mean, people do research their breeds, but I think quite often our first thing of what we like about the dog is what it looks like, or oftentimes also, it's hypoallergenic, you know, all the poo mixes are very popular, but for that reason.
Yeah.
It looks like a teddy bear and it's hypoallergenic, how perfect. But are you considering what that mix is and whether it suits your lifestyle and whether you're going to give your dog the outlets to practice their natural behaviors? Because if you don't, that's when you start to get behavioral problems, right?
Well, this is the big thing, is that a lot of the dogs that have been bred and sold as being the quote unquote hypoallergenic, essentially they molt less. They molt less and they have less dander than other dogs of similar looks, as in the long sort of ears, the longer coats, but they want the curly coats, which comes from the poodle. But the poodles are essentially, there's some discussion over the original use of poodles, but most of them were French water dogs. And so the meaning of poodle in German is to splash in the water. And so it is looking at those things. It's looking at what are they doing? Why would they be in the water? What's their face shape for? What's their sort of look for? Well, historically, the poodle cut was around their joints to be able to protect and give heat. So only a dog that's hunting in water would need to then have their joints protected when they come out to be able to keep that heat in there, to be able to sustain that. So it is important to look at that. And if you're going to get a Cavapoo, a Cockapoo, a Maltipoo, all the different poos, understand the two breeds that are being mixed together and whether or not it fits with you. Because actually, whilst they're bred to look like teddy bears, they're not teddy bears. They have really important.
You don't just want to snuggle with me all day on the couch?
Funnily enough, no. And this is where a lot of issues.
Oh man.
But then it's the same thing. We've got a lot of different breeds across the UK. In particular, we have different groups. And so when people are watching stuff like Crufts on TV, they have got them into groups. So they have the gun dogs, the hounds, the pastorals, the terriers, the toys, and the utilities, and the working. And so whilst the working group, the pastoral, the hounds, and the gun dogs have similar ideas behind them. So things like the scent work for the hounds and the retrieving and the hunting and the pointing for the gun dogs. The pastorals are more like the sheep dogs, the cattle dogs, things like that, that will need to have usually the opportunity to herd in some fashion, or at least doing some seeking on the horizon. Seeking just means
But
watching.
how do you give a herding dog, what can you do with a herding dog to allow it to express that instinctual behavior
So this is
without causing issues?
Yeah, this is what often happens, is that a lot of them, particularly those that are in London, they will start looking to chase cars, or they'll start herding the family together. So they'll start circling around you when you're out on walks to try and keep the whole family together. It's a really common thing. And so what you can do is actually give them outlets that are games that are based on herding. So there is a thing, get ready, called sheep balls, and it is not what it sounds. It essentially is designed by the wonderful trainer Kay Lawrence, and there's plenty of YouTube videos on this. Be very careful when you Google sheep balls, it will come up with lots of stuff.
I'm not sure I'm ready for that.
But it is teaching them to be able to seek, which means watching a ball that is under your foot, and you're going to rotate it round, and every so often your dog is going to start moving around you just like they would start herding sheep, and you kick it out so they can go after it. So there are really nice games that you can play, particularly as families, to teach them to be able to do this. But then, like you, who's got a terrier, we want to give them the opportunity to seek, to chase, to grab, to tear, and it's important for those dogs.
She loves it. She absolutely loves it. I mean, Poppy is allowed now, she has permission to open pretty much every parcel that arrives, because she just loves tearing it apart. She absolutely loves it. That, you know, every Christmas and birthday, Poppy gets all the wrapping paper. So Christmas morning, we're all unwrapping our presents, and she just has a field day tearing up and shredding all the paper. When she gets a new toy, she wants to tear it apart and get the insides out.
It's so important though for her, because if she didn't,
You know, she gets a subscription box, and one of the boxes is to tick, do you need like a more robust, indestructible toy? No, she's going to destroy it, but that she wants to do that, and that's something that I'm happy for her to destroy, so she can have an outlet for that natural behavior.
And how many times do you hear people complaining that every time they give their dog soft toys that they destroy them, so they don't give them soft toys anymore? But ultimately they're then denying them something that's so important to their everyday life. Then they'll start chewing up your slippers or the cushions or anything else. And so
looking for an outlet for that natural behavior. And I think that, you know, what we were discussing in terms of it being a welfare issue, if you're asking your dog, whatever the breed, to suppress its natural desires and instincts, that is a welfare issue, isn't it?
Absolutely is. If you've got dogs that are bred to, like the working dogs that are bred to essentially guard and search, and rescue dogs, they're all in there. They're all in under the working category. But if you're not giving them an outlet to search, to guard, to rescue, they're going to find ways to do this at home. And whether or not you want them to, if you deny the opportunity for them to do this, then actually it can cause an awful lot of issues. And for me, when you've got a hound like the sight hounds or the bloodhounds, so scent or sight essentially, and you're not giving them the right outlets for that, then that is a welfare issue, because you can't expect a greyhound to not look and try to chase small furries. It doesn't have to be live small furries though. I
guess like the flirt poles and stuff are perfect for them, are they?
And we're probably in agreement that extender leads should probably be ditched in most circumstances.
Oh my God.
Only because of the safety around them. But actually extender leads are perfect for sight hounds. If you stick a small furry at the end of it, and you extend it all the way out, and then you unclip it, oh my God, the speed that thing goes across the field is...
Oh, what a fantastic use for them. So if anybody has an extender lead that they're ready to part with and not use as a lead, donate them to greyhound owners.
Donate them to any sight hound. So the whippets, the lurchers, the salukis, all of them are so good.
What a great idea.
And it's a really good way that they can chase after it. But also think about that. Terriers, Dachshunds, all the dogs like that that also are supposed to go to ground and chase small furries. what a brilliant outlet for them. If you have, yes, you can use the flirt poles, and yes, there's plenty of stuff on the market, but there's most of us have bought at some point in our life with dogs an extender lead, and most of us have decided at some point or another that one, it either hurts our dogs, or two, it doesn't help with lead walking, and so instead we now have them just sitting in a cupboard somewhere. So extend it all the way out. Make sure that you have a lovely, beautiful sit with your dog before you release them to chase after it, because you'll never get it extended out otherwise. But once you can do that, oh, what a great game it is to play with dogs. It's so much fun.
That's lovely. That is lovely. And what I really love is that the solutions that you're giving are also something that encourages a connection between the owner and the dog. Which
Absolutely.
I think there's so many enrichment toys that bung some food in it, put it down, and crack on. It's like that. Obviously, there's a place for that. But having activities where you connect and enjoy games with them, it's just lovely.
It's so important. It's part of, for me, quite frequently we see issues arise when people want to take their dogs to the park. They let them off lead. They don't have a good recall. Their dogs love chasing squirrels. They love chasing after small dogs. They apologize and say, oh, I'm sorry, it's a puppy or it's a new rescue. But that isn't an excuse as to why you haven't got control over your dog. And whilst I'm not a big fan of the word control when it comes to dogs, it is part of dog law that we should have control over our dogs.
I was going to say, it's a legal issue, and actually nothing actually needs to happen, does it? Somebody just needs to feel scared, and you've broken the law. You've got a dangerous dog on your hands. And I think a lot of people they don't know that.
No, they don't. And I mean, in reality, we don't want to scaremonger people. We don't want to suggest that actually you're going to be prosecuted for all these things. But it is important to know that if somebody does decide that they feel like they're threatened by your dog, if that one person decides to go to the dog warden or the police and prosecute you, you can end up in court. And so whilst it's not something that happens regularly and it's not a frequent occurrence, there have been cases that very young dogs, as young as 6 months old, have ended up going through the courts and being told they have to be kept on a lead for life, only walked by people over the age of 16, and muzzled. And that's a really big risk to take every time you decide that it's one you're happy to take with your dog. But the other bigger issue is if your dog is chasing after things and you can't call them back, where's the safety for your dog in that too?
Yeah.
It's not great.
But so you can utilize their natural instincts and find ways that allow them to enjoy expressing those natural instincts, and use those to your advantage so that they're more likely to come back to you, right?
Well, how brilliant. Use one of your dog toys that you know they're going to shred, stick it on the end of an extender lead. Obviously, make sure you're not surrounded by other dogs, so that could actually hurt. Extend it across the field, have it race into you, and then your dog can dissect it. They've not done it to a squirrel, they've not done it to another animal, they're doing it to the thing that you think that they enjoy doing it to. It's safe.
And they came back.
They're to you. They came to you to do it as well. And so important that you factor in how you can get you into the center of your dog's life to have that connection, because frequently we want to palm them off onto other things. Oh, my dog isn't socialized. I know we're covering that in a different topic, but my dog isn't socialized, so I'm going to stick them in a group of dogs and hope they figure out how to do it. It's not going to happen. So on that note, I think
also, one last thing before we sign off, is there any greater feeling than being in a park with your dog or out wherever you happen to be walking and calling them and them coming rushing back to you because you're the best thing in the world? Like, it's a mutual feeling. It's not that rush that also has a bit of guilt when they come rushing to you at the door when you come home, right? It's that just complete endorphin, like, what's the word?
Oxytocin, love.
That's the word I wanted, my scientist friend. It's a rush when they come back to you like that. So the more things that you can do to build that connection, the happier you and your dog will be.
And it is that. It's that if you know your dog is bred to do certain things and you know that you are in conflict right now because of it, then why not have a look at what your dog was originally bred for and see if there's ways that you can give them these outlets that result in you being the center of that. If your dog needs to chase stuff, have them chase things that you throw out in 2 directions, so they've always got you in the middle of it. If your dog needs to dissect stuff, make sure it's coming from you and not stuff they find in your bedroom floor. If your dog needs to seek, sit at the window with them, watching and seeking with them, seeing things go past rather than denying them attention. If your dog needs to retrieve, give them items. We have a basket. I've got a retriever and a working lab and a working cocker. We have a basket at the bottom of the stairs because one of our dogs decided that picking up shoes was a really good thing to do. So instead, there's a basket of toys now. So they can pick up the toy as soon as they get to the bottom of the stairs, grab it, and then they can go to the back door, or they can go to the front door. It gives them a space that they can grab what they want. It's their choice, rather than it being something that will cause conflict, like grabbing my husband's shoes or slippers. So
I was going to say, don't tell that story. In another episode, we will discuss reinforcement and what you're reinforcing, and we will definitely tell the shoe story because it's a really good story, but you're going to have to tune in again to hear it.
So for now, we'll switch off and say goodbye from the Bewitching Bitches, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
We've been Bewitching Bitches.
See you next time.